Every time I walk into the gas station, I feel like there is a brand new beverage in the fridge with a beautiful label just begging to be tried. That's until I reach in, turn it around, and read the label. More often than not, I find myself putting that thing right back where I found it. And that's the funny thing about marketing. These companies will do anything that they possibly can to get you to buy their product. And they're just banking on you not caring about the ingredients that they're putting into your system. Well, today we are putting an end to this once and for all as I rank some of the world's most popular beverages on the market. We're talking energy drinks, hydration beverages, sodas, juices, and so much more. This is an episode that you do not want to miss. But first, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Dr. Emile and I am a naturopathic doctor on a mission to show the world that healthy doesn't have to be hard. Starting off strong with the S tier. These are some of the healthiest beverages on the planet. So assuming that you are consuming them in appropriate amounts, enjoy them to your heart's content. The A tier refers to beverages that are by and large still considered to be healthy, but the frequency at which you enjoy them might change depending on the context. In the B tier, we're going to be talking about drinks that walk the line between healthy and unhealthy. The C tier is going to be the home for beverages that are clearly unhealthy that you're probably still better off avoiding. But because I am a reasonable guy and I think that life should include a little bit of flexibility, we're gonna throw them in the C tier. And finally, the F tier. These drinks are just a straight up no thank you, pass, next. Okay, that's enough blabbering, let's get into it. Starting off strong with an energy drink that has been giving wings to people for decades. You guessed it, we're talking about Red Bull. A standard size can of Red Bull contains 80 milligrams of caffeine and 1,000 milligrams of taurine. But the problem with energy drinks like Red Bull lies in its sugar content. A standard size can of Red Bull contains up to 27 grams of sugar per can. That sounds like a quick way to get a set of wings and then cut them right off about an hour later. So I'm coming out the gate swinging and I'm throwing Red Bull in the F tier. One of Red Bull's biggest competitors is Monster Energy, and a standard size can of Monster will contain 160 milligrams of caffeine with the same 1,000 milligrams of taurine. That's double the amount of caffeine, except this time Monster is using high fructose corn syrup to sweeten their beverages. Throw in a few artificial colors, dyes, and flavorings, and Monster is quickly gonna find itself right next to Red Bull in the F tier. Now that's not to say that all energy drinks are inherently bad, because there are some companies that are actually making an effort to create a superior product. One of the companies that comes to mind is Celsius Energy, which has been starting to gain traction in the market. Now this beverage contains 200 milligrams of caffeine, which is even higher than Monster, but the sweetening agent in Celsius is actually stevia, which is a natural sweetener. I always appreciate when companies make the effort to reduce their added sugar and replace it with a healthier option. And because of that, Celsius, you are going to land yourself on the C tier. Now, 200 milligrams of caffeine is still a lot of caffeine to consume in one beverage, so make sure that if you do consume caffeine, that this is the only source that you get it from for your entire day. Remember that caffeine is not inherently bad. We just want to make sure that we are managing the dose. And speaking of caffeinated beverages, there is one that rules them all. This is one of the most consumed beverages on earth, and for good reason. You guessed it, I'm talking about none other than black coffee. Each cup of black coffee contains about 90 milligrams of caffeine, and it is packed with healthy antioxidants. Now, it is worth mentioning that coffee is one of the most heavily sprayed crops in the world of agriculture. And so if you can, the next time you go shopping for coffee, make sure to choose an organic option instead. With all of this in mind, coffee drinkers rejoice because coffee is finding itself in the S tier. Up next, we've got vitamin water. A lot of people made a lot of money when it came to vitamin water thanks to good old-fashioned health washing. Health washing is actually a predatory marketing tactic that companies will use to convince consumers that a product is healthy when really and truly it ain't that healthy. Well, I guess you're getting some bonus B vitamins in your vitamin water, even though the doses are kind of low and the formats are not quite bioavailable. But it looks good on a label. And maybe if they promote the vitamins enough, then consumers will ignore the 34 grams of sugar that is found in every bottle of vitamin water. But if you've watched any of my other videos, you will know how I feel about predatory marketing tactics, and because of that, vitamin water, you're gonna land yourself in C tier. You're lucky I'm not putting you in F. Now again, there are some companies out there trying to take a product like vitamin water and make it better. One that comes to mind is Roar Organics. What I like about Roar is that all of their ingredients are organic. They don't use artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives. They use lower sugar concentrations and sometimes even sweeten with stevia. And you get your B vitamins, electrolytes, and minerals that you would have gotten in your vitamin water. So props to you, Roar Organics. You're gonna land yourself in the B tier. Up next is a beverage that has been synonymous with professional sports for decades upon decades. We're talking about Gatorade. Now what's interesting is that the original Gatorade really did what it was supposed to do, and that was to support the hydration of overworked college football players. But that original Gatorade only included 4 ingredients: water, sugar, salt, and lemon. The purpose of which was to give the athletes a little bit of an energy boost through the sugar, replenish lost electrolytes through excess sweating, and citric acid from the lemons to assist in absorption and help with the flavor profile. But somewhere along the line, as mega corporations do in mass production, they started using much more sugar, artificial colors, flavorings, and food dyes. Honestly, not great stats, so there's no way that I could possibly put it any higher than C tier. Up next is a hydration beverage that has continued to break the internet over and over again. I'm talking about Logan Paul's Prime Hydration Drink. Now, I've spent my fair share roasting Logan Paul and his partners on this channel on their most recent product, Lunchly, but I spent a little bit of time looking into this beverage, and to be honest, it's not that bad. Okay, so it still contains artificial food colors and dyes, but one of the main ingredients is coconut water. It's sweetened with stevia, and there's more potassium than there is sodium. I mean, with this being said, given the choice between something like Gatorade and Prime, I actually might pick the Prime. And so because of that, I think I'm gonna put Prime in the B tier. See, Logan, I can be a reasonable guy. On the topic of hydration, our next 2 products are actually not beverages yet. I'm talking about 2 electrolyte powders that need to be mixed with water to become a beverage. Namely, I'm talking about BioSteel and Element. You might recognize BioSteel as one of the prime sponsors of the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Toronto Raptors. And if you've ever listened to a podcast, you may have heard of Element, as they sponsor some of the biggest podcasters in the world. But that's just advertising. Let's look at the products. BioSteel is one of my favorite hydration mixes because the ingredients are so clean. It's sweetened with stevia, it's naturally colored with beetroot powder, it's packed with B vitamins, minerals, and amino acids for muscle recovery. It contains 140 milligrams of sodium, and it's only 5 calories per scoop. You can tell that BioSteel is a company that spent some time making sure that they perfected their product. And no, they're not paying me to say this, but BioSteel, if you want to sponsor one more person, I'll pick up the phone. And then of course there is Element, which is also a very clean electrolyte powder. I like it for many of the same reasons I like BioSteel. And so because of that, I'm gonna put both BioSteel and Element in the A tier. Now, a quick note about electrolytes. Electrolyte beverages are meant to be consumed to replace lost electrolytes through excessive sweating. If you're an elite athlete or you work out extensively, then electrolyte beverages can certainly help your hydration game. But if you're just sitting around sipping on electrolyte beverages, you're just drinking flavored salty water. Let's not simply rebrand salt as electrolytes, but rather let's recognize that products like this have a very specific place and context in our nutrition. And to wrap up hydration beverages, I've got one of Mother Nature's finest, coconut water. Now, if you live in North America, it might be difficult for you to find fresh coconuts where you can cut off the top and enjoy it right out of the nut. But there are some companies out there that have high quality coconut water that is not from concentrate. Sure, if you're able to find a product by one of these companies, I'm happy to put coconut water in A tier, but if you live in the tropics and you're able to get it fresh every day, coconut water easily lands itself in the S tier. Up next, we've got the infamous Coca-Cola. I feel like this is one that I don't really need to talk about all that much because I think that we can universally agree that Coca-Cola is absolutely terrible for you. I might have to create a tier under F tier just for Coke. A 12-ounce can of Coca-Cola contains 39 grams of sugar. That is the equivalent of almost 10 teaspoons of sugar in a 12-ounce can. That does not even take into account the artificial colors, flavors, and chemicals that are added to every batch. I'm not even sorry about this one. Coca-Cola, F tier. So you might be wondering, if sugar is the issue, does that mean that diet drinks are better? And the answer is kinda not really. Of course, we have to recognize that diet sodas do not contain sugar, but rather utilize artificial zero-calorie sweeteners. But these chemicals come with their own set of problems. Some studies have shown that artificial sweeteners can still lead to metabolic disease like insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes because it disrupts the gut's microbiome. So diet sodas aren't exactly the health hack that we were led to believe that they were in the mid-20th century. But because I guess they're a little better than a super high sugar soda, they'll find themselves in the C tier. Up next is sparkling water, both flavored and unflavored. When you look closely at sparkling water, it's simply carbonated water. That's all it really is. It's kind of zero everything, just like water is. Now, some people make the argument that the carbonation can aggravate digestive symptoms like IBS or acid reflux, but this is on an individual basis. All in all, I think that sparkling water is relatively benign, but it's not really a replacement for real water. Even the flavored versions like LaCroix and Bubbly are naturally flavored. So with all of this in mind, we're gonna batch all of our sparkling water options and throw them in the A tier. Up next is a gas station favorite, Arizona iced tea. Man, I remember being a teenager grabbing those 99-cent cans thinking that I was actually making a healthy, smart choice and getting a deal at the same time. Well, I definitely got a deal, but I was not making a smart, healthy choice. All you gotta do is flip that can around to realize that a 23-ounce can contains 34 grams of sugar. There's more sugar in there than tea. There's no way that there's anything healthy about a beverage like this, and so it's gonna have to land itself in the F tier. While we're on the topic of tea, this next drink makes that Arizona stuff look like an abomination. I'm talking about one of the healthiest drinks on the planet, green tea. Green tea is packed with nutrients like antioxidants, polyphenols, and even L-theanine, which has been shown to support healthy mood and reduce anxiety. Now, green tea is still caffeinated and contains somewhere between 20 to 45 milligrams of caffeine per cup. And because of that, you should try to enjoy your green tea earlier in the day rather than later so that you don't disrupt your sleep. There's so much benefit in this little green leaf mixed in hot water, and because of that, we're gonna put green tea in the S tier. Up next, we have to have a conversation about juice. Now, juice is an interesting one because if you were gonna ask me where on the tier list juice is going to land, my answer would be it depends. First, let's think about what juice really is. When you take a fruit and you squeeze out the juice, you're leaving all of the fiber behind. This is an essential component of a fruit that makes it healthy and whole. And so when you drink a glass of juice, sure, you get all of the vitamins, minerals, and micronutrients, but you also get all of the sugar without any of the fiber. And of course, by and large, it is natural sugar, but it's still sugar without fiber. Now, some juices are more nutritionally dense than others, and some juices have lower sugar profiles than others. Think about the vitamin C content in a beautiful glass of freshly squeezed orange juice. And think about all the micronutrients that's in a cold-pressed bottle of green juice that contains both fruits and vegetables. In many ways, you can consider both of these beverages to be quite healthy, but still, nothing is going to replace eating the entire fruit or vegetable. And so because of that, I'm gonna put freshly squeezed juice and cold pressed juice in the B tier. But not so fast. We have not spoken about commercially available juice from concentrate. This is the stuff that by and large you want to avoid. It's so high in added sugar that it may as well not even be considered a fruit anymore. And honestly, it's really not all that much better than pop. And so because of that, we're gonna be putting juice from concentrate all the way down in the F tier. Up next, we're gonna talk about the world of milk. And there are a few things to unpack here, so I hope you're still paying attention. Over the last decade or so, cow's milk has gotten a lot of really bad press. And to be honest, a lot of it is justified. Dairy products like cow's milk tend to be one of the nutritional culprits behind a whole host of inflammatory health issues. Anything from IBS and lactose intolerance to skin issues and acne, aggravations in respiratory issues like asthma through the creation of excess mucus. The list kind of goes on and on. But just because that is the reality for some people doesn't mean that it's the reality for everybody. And by and large, when you look at the nutritional profile of cow's milk, it's really actually pretty good. It's high in protein and calcium, which are two essential nutrients that are important for so many things in the body. But for reasons that we don't have enough time to discuss in this video, the digestibility of cow's milk in North America is really quite low. So if you can tolerate cow's milk well without any issues, then enjoy sparingly. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the B tier. Now, interestingly enough, sheep's and goat's milk is way easier to digest and is actually much more nutritionally dense. Even though it is slightly lower in protein and higher in fat, the micronutrient profile of goat's and sheep's milk is really quite impressive. Couple that with its ease of digestion, we're gonna put sheep's and goat's milk in the A tier. And then of course there are the non-dairy milk options like almond milk and oat milk. I think that in this day and age it's actually great that we have so many non-dairy milk alternatives for individuals that don't eat dairy. But that doesn't mean that these products come without consequence. Many non-dairy milk alternatives are packed with artificial thickeners and gums to help stabilize them on the shelf. And consuming these chemicals in large quantities certainly is not good for you. A little splash here and there in your coffee ain't gonna hurt so much, and because of that, I'm gonna put almond milk and oat milk in the B category. Up next, we've got a fermented foodie favorite, kombucha. Now this is a tricky one because there's so much variability in the fermented beverage space. In general, the benefit of consuming fermented foods and beverages like kombucha is to help support the gut's natural microbiome. But the problem is, if you already struggle with gastrointestinal concerns of any kind, over-consuming fermented drinks like kombucha can actually make the problem worse. Couple that with the fact that so many commercial kombuchas are packed with added sugar. Probably not what you want to be giving to nurture a healthy gut microbiome. It's just okay, and you do have to be cautious about all of that added sugar. And because of that, kombucha is going to find itself on the B tier. And finally, folks, we're wrapping it up strong with the drink of all drinks. I'm talking about none other than good old-fashioned H2O. Folks, it doesn't get any better than good old-fashioned water, and the truth is, we don't really drink enough of it. Universal guidelines for a very long time has been about 2 liters per day, but more recent studies are starting to show that we actually could benefit from drinking even more, especially if you're particularly active, extra tall, or overweight. Now, the world of water is actually quite vast, with so many options from reverse osmosis filtration to gravity filtration, spring water, purified water, bottled water. There's enough information on this topic for an entirely separate video, and if you're interested in learning more, leave me a comment, let me know. I might just make one. But we don't have to waste any more time on this, folks. You know where water's gonna end up, right at the top of the list on the S tier. And that's all we've got for you today, folks. Take a look at that list. Do you agree with my picks? Is there anything that you would change? Let me know down in the comments. I read them all and I'm happy to respond. If you enjoyed this video and you found it to be valuable, make sure to hit that like button and share it with a friend. And if you feel like subscribing to the channel, I won't be mad. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.